Hey guys, what's going on? I'm going to talk about a couple of losing trades on LuxAlgo today. So if you want to get my full strategy, just click the link in the description below. I have a strategy guide and it'll send you there and you can check out what I do with LuxAlgo. A lot of these videos I talk about my strategies. This one I want to focus on talking about losing trades. So let me look at the log. If you sign up for the strategy e-guide, by the way, that I put together, you also get access to this log, which is all my trades since start of May. So about a month now. And you can see all these trades. It's been going really well. I had this really long winning streak, but recently I've started to take some losing trades here. So what I thought I'd do is that a couple of people asked me, like, how do you manage the trades that don't work on LuxAlgo? And that's always the key with all trading strategies, right? Is it all comes down to basically how you manage the trades that don't work, cutting your losses. So thought I'd just kind of give my thoughts on this. Hopefully it's helpful to some people and kind of talk a little bit about the two losing trades that I had today, which was, let's see, this one. So these were today's trades June 8th. So I've put in the times. Sometimes I forget to put the times and then have to go back through, look at the actual orders and put in the times. So that's what I did today. So let's start with the end of the day one first. Kind of backwards, but I think there's more to it than the start of the day one. But we'll cover both. So towards the end of the day today, I don't know. I'd had a good run of three good trades here, so you can see these three winners. And so I was a little bit gung ho. I don't usually like to trade too aggressively at the start of the day or at the end of the day. And so I jumped into some puts because LuxAlgo on the 1 minute SPY signaled a strong down signal here, and the smart trail was bearish as well. So this is my criteria for entering, right? You have a trend. The problem is, at the end of the day, you often get quite sharp changes in direction, like you'll get a rally into the close. And so going into this trade, I wasn't really paying a huge amount of attention to what time it was, and so I didn't realize it was already. So I'm in Central Time, so these times along the bottom are 3:30 Eastern Time would be like here. So we were in the last 40 minutes of the market. And generally, I don't like to take trades in that time. I usually get burned. Same with the market open. But nevertheless, I ended up in this trade. And so when I realized that it became kind of a salvage operation rather than hoping for profits, it was like, okay, so half an hour to go roughly. And I've been doing this long enough that I know that often you'll get an unexpected move in one direction or the other, and it can often be a rally. And so in this case, it was not a huge rally or anything, but a decent move up. So managing this trade. So this was a losing trade. If you look at the chart, I mean, it doesn't look like it's much of a loss, right? So you got the signal here. It did go against me straight away, which was really annoying, but it was never down more than about 15%. And so my first rule of this is never take more than a 25% loss. And so if you look through my losses, I've done a pretty good job. This is the percentage column. I've done a pretty good job keeping the losses under 25%. There are a couple because you're always going to have, the occasional outlier. So like -7%, -13%, -5%. Earlier on there was some bigger losses, so like -25%. But generally the losses are single digits, right? So 8%, 1%. There is the occasional, like here's a couple that were kind of out of hand, but not crazy or anything, not like 70% of the positions. So it's still a little bit bigger than I'd like to take. But hopefully this is like worst case scenario for the strategy that I'm using with LuxAlgo. And so far that's been the case. Because if you're taking base hits like wins of 10, 15, 20%, you can take the odd 13% or 25% loss and still be fine. So that's kind of my always thought. I'm a very defensive trader. Like it gets me out of trades too quickly sometimes and I lose out on profits, but it also keeps my losses fairly small, which is good. So if we look back at the chart here, we had this rally and I was like, oh no, here we go. And luckily, what I was waiting for did happen is we did find a rejection at the smart trail. So you often see this. So that kind of kept me in the trade. That's cool. Like everything's fine. So sold off a little bit here. Starting to get excited. I really thought we might see a nice big drop all the way down to here, kind of thing. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and we ended up just kind of going sideways. And so at this point, if you look at the trend basically here, my thought process was pretty simple. We were starting to see a higher low put in here, right? So given that it was close to the end of the day, we're starting to see a higher low. The trade really wasn't working out very well at all. I figured it was probably safest just to close it and call it a day. So that's like one part of the decision-making process. That's not nearly as scientific and robotic and analytical as some people might want to hear, though. But it's my thought processes. But I can walk you through the other scenarios of how you could go about managing this trade as well, and could have ended up happening with me as well. So if you just stayed in the trade because you didn't have the fear of an unexpected rally into the close, imagine this was the middle of the day, and the thought of a sudden price movement and one wasn't really a big concern. So you're just sitting there, you're down about 5% at this point. That's where I think it was a -7% loss that I took on this. And so you're just sitting there and you're just kind of thinking, okay, how am I going to manage this trade? Because really, this is a sideways trade. This is not anything crazy. And so we dip back down, so we're about break even for a while. But then this signal comes in right here. So this is your first warning sign that there's a green buy signal, right? So you wait until that candle closes because you don't really want to exit the trade based on this during the candle. But you wait and you exit. You'd have taken a similar percentage loss to me, somewhere between 5 and maybe 10% at worst. And so I would have ended up closing here anyway. So you can kind of see that what I'm trying to say here is this close was, I'm trying to think of the word, it's like unquantifiable. This was just kind of my experience, I guess, like saying, hey, this is not looking that great, let's just call it a day here. Spider sense, maybe. Anyway, the actual trade you could have closed on the incoming green signal, right? And you still would have only taken a 5, maybe 10% loss. If you'd gone aggressive, you would have waited until the smart trail flipped here and taken a slightly bigger loss as this flipped to bullish, and you'd be like, okay, I'm out. So any of these scenarios, whether it's the scared not wanting to risk it, or just waiting for the actual technical signal, or even up here, all still would have kept this trade to a very manageable loss. So nothing too scary at all. So that's kind of how I managed that losing trade. So as it was, it took a -7% loss on that. It could easily have been a -10%. Probably should have been more like 10% if I'd waited for this candle to close and then maybe put an order and it'd be up here somewhere, on the 1-minute chart. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's one way of managing a trade. So that's one of the ones I did. Let's look at the one from earlier in the day. And then that brings up an important point. So I think I mentioned this in the Discord. If you want to come and join the Discord, by the way, I run a Discord called Sidekick Traders. And if you want to come and join it, and I basically walk through all of these scenarios in real time in the Discord. Let me show you. So I'll narrate all my trades real time. When the ones that you see in the spreadsheet are the ones that I do in here. So complete with pictures and talking about what I'm doing each step of the way. So if we go back to the start of the day here, it's just a really good record for me, but hopefully it helps other people as well. Okay, so June 8th there. Today at 9:06, still a bit early. Here we go. I hate trading the market open. I don't know why I jumped in today at market open. So today at market open 3 minutes after, I was looking to jump in calls because we had a buy signal. And so the cool thing was I was watching the candle and I was able to say I'll most likely buy in 15 seconds. It's kind of like a heads up because I knew from the candle that it was flashing a buy signal. So I just looked and saw how many seconds were left on the candle and gave people a heads up. Unfortunately, it didn't help much because the trade didn't take off immediately like sometimes they do. So let's see if we can find the first morning signal. Try and go back here. Just kind of zoom in here so you guys can see it. So my whole thought process on that was to tell people I was going to enter, because sometimes these things just take off, like on this one, just took off. very quickly. So I was like, okay, I'll tell people like I'm watching this candle. There's 15 seconds left. Get ready, kind of thing, in case they wanted to jump in and try it as well. So this is what happened this morning. Basically, at the open, it's like 3 minutes in. It took the long on this candle here, and then it immediately reversed and then popped a nice big. This is the sort of volatility you see at the open. It's why I don't really like trading it. I nearly always get freaked out and get burned. One thing I was telling people today though is if you're going to play the open, it's probably a good idea to play it with a smaller position size, because that at least keeps the emotions out of it a little bit more. So I was in with a significantly smaller position size. So I put my position size in the spreadsheets here as well. So it was this one right here. So I was only in with $2,300, which is almost a half position size for my more aggressive stuff. So it was pretty small. You can see on the next trade I did a significantly bigger position. It was a little bit further away from the open. I had more confidence in it. And I was telling people in the chat room, I was like, if you'd done this the other way, if you jumped in heavy, say you just were copying me blindly, or maybe you're using LuxAlgo blindly and just like, okay, and you went in hard on this one, didn't manage it well and took a big loss, the next one you'd have gone in small and then probably sold even earlier than I did and taken a smaller one, you'd have been net negative. So these small details make a big difference, right? So the position sizing and how you deal with the trade psychologically and just like from a management point of view can really make the difference between making money and losing money, right? So, and I don't play these that well. Like I play them as best I can, but I'm not, I'm not some amazing trader. I just tend to trade too defensively, really, to be honest. So anyway, sometimes it keeps me out of trouble though, which is what we're seeing here. So let me talk you through this one. So in the Discord here, I put it's risky, it's at market open. Yesterday I played market open, it worked, blah blah. So I talk about my trail stop here. So smart trail is stop and or 25% max, depending on what comes first. So what I didn't mention here though is there are certain other things, like if the indicator flips, then I'm going to be out. Whenever I get an indication that the trade isn't working, I stop out. I try my absolute best to stick to that because that's what I found works the best. So I'm basically looking for a reason to stop out of the trade. So let's see, I went in with a smaller position, I said, just watching to bounce. So yeah, I also try and keep myself calm with these bounces off the smart trails, you probably notice. So this one, it did actually bounce off the smart trail right here. So it's just immediately kind of a mess. And so I was able to, because it was market open, I was also kind of fidgety. So what I did is, at least I think I did, this is why it's good to have, that's right, so this is good to have this record inside the Discord. So we got little spikes in the premium. So at one point it went from 136 to 145. And because it was at market open, I took little parts of my position off. So 1/4 of my position off I took for profit. And I said to protect a bit. And that's just kind of made me feel a little bit better, get a bit of profit locked in, small, size down the position a little bit. I think most of me knew that taking these at market open is kind of like a lotto sometimes, at least for me, the way I play them. So I wanted to kind of start to scale out and just kind of be a little bit more comfortable. And so I was watching for smart trail bounce. It did actually happen. I didn't like the price action, so again I took a bit more out. So I'd already had a small position, and then I was getting out just a bit above break even on every little bounce, and so I was just left with like a tiny position, and then it dropped. It dropped here. Luckily I didn't get caught in this, so this would have been a fairly significant loss. Not huge or anything, but if this had broken down through here and you had to get out down on this candle or something, it definitely would have been a different story. And so when this thing was struggling, so it was just kind of doing these things and it came down, and then this candle we kind of sold off quite strongly. At that point I was like, okay, this is not a great start to the day. I know what can happen. Same with the end of the day. I know that we can suddenly have like a rapid change, and often that change will come at this exact time, 15 minutes after market open. See down the bottom how it says 8:45, that's really 9:45. Often the market will just take an abrupt shift in direction around then, so I didn't want to get caught in that, so that's why I exited earlier than previously, things. So that trade was a tiny loss. I mean, it was -3% in the end. It could have been 10, 15, 20% even, without me kind of juggling around. And certainly with a bigger position, I might have been a little bit more greedy even. I might have been like, okay, I'm gonna wait, this is bouncing, I'm just gonna hope for a big run up here. And instead I would have taken a huge loss and sold down here. The trick is though that if this does happen, that you don't just keep hoping and holding, right? That you do actually take the loss. That you don't just like, oh, I'm sure it'll just bounce back up, because it doesn't always, and that's where you'll start losing 50-60% of your trades. So yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. Kind of weird. I guess those were two extreme cases, like market open and then market close. I'll try and go over some losses when they happen throughout the day where I'm not nervous, right? Where I'm not more on edge about the trade, because it'll give you a better sense of how I manage like a normal loss. I mean, you can look at this one. Imagine you entered on this one, right? And you entered short here. Well, you've got a couple of situations here. One is you exit when it turns green here, so you take a small loss from here to here because you're short on it. That's the most obvious thing. That's not going to hurt too much at all. And one thing to look at is this reversal zone. We're starting to hit it, bounce off here again. And so you might want to look to take profits down here. Partial profits can't hurt. They often help protect from a loss. So if you took a partial profits here and then stopped out here, you're really not going to be down much at all, depending on how much you take and stuff. So and just trying to manage these trades really makes a difference, I think. Anyway, hopefully that's helpful. If you want the full strategy guide, and if you want extra guidance or discussions at least on this stuff, feel free to come and join the Discord. There's a 3-day free trial. We have a bunch of different stuff. We have SPX scalping, which is fun. We have the stuff that I'm talking about with LuxAlgo. We have Lance talking about all sorts of different things, alerting different styles of trading, which is fun. So yeah, come and join us. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to come. I think it definitely could help. I know a lot of people have been joining to come and discuss LuxAlgo stuff, and after seeing some of my results on these, so hopefully it's helpful. Alright guys, talk to you in the next video.